Hello, my name is Trent.
My name is George.
And my name is Jared. And this is our film project for DMS259, Introduction to Media Analysis.
Here we perform an analysis of the film The Pursuit of Happiness,
with references from the documents we read throughout the semester.
Chris Gardner was doing his best for his family.
We just don't need it, Chris. It's unnecessary.
But his best
Wait!
wasn't enough.
Man, I got two questions for you. What do you do and how do you do it?
I'm a stockbroker.
Stockbroker. Oh. Hey, I'm gonna let you hang on to my car for the weekend, but I need it back for Monday.
Feed the meter.
I need the rent. I can't wait anymore. I need you out of here in the morning.
I still remember that moment. There was only $21 left in my bank account. This was my last chance to ever amount to anything.
You gotta trust me, all right?
I trust you.
Because I'm getting a better job.
Let me see if I can find you an application for our internship.
There was no salary, but there was a way to another place.
Did Mom leave because of me?
Mom left because of Mom, and you didn't have anything to do with that.
Dad, where are we going?
I don't know. Last year, we had an intern score on 90% on the written exam. He wasn't chosen. It's not a simple pass-fail.
You're not quitting on us yet, are you? Jay says you're pretty determined.
Where are you going? Go to the hospital! Gotta go to work!
But there's one guy in here who's gonna be somebody.
This thing's impossible. I can do it.
No, you can't. No one can.
You got a dream, you got to protect it. People can't do something themselves. They want to tell you you can't do it.
Will Smith, The Pursuit of Happiness.
You want something, go get it. Period.
The main reason why our group chose to pick a film was to explain the impact of film versus print media. To further break down the differences between media formats, I chose to compare the difference between media available on the internet, such as our film, versus print media, such as a newspaper. Videos are a very powerful, impactful way to teach and influence people. Videos available on the internet have a much farther reach. Additionally, visually learning through film is much more beneficial. For example, people use videos on YouTube to learn mathematics and how to tie a tie, for example. I would much rather prefer to watch a video than read a textbook or newspaper to become informed. So I chose to incorporate a picture from the movie Why We Fight as a reference from the film that showed graphics of 9/11 and how impactful film can be. The emotional impact of the film allows people to feel and be emotionally swayed and influenced. Tying the film Why We Fight to our film was relatable because if I had just read Will Smith's journey and struggle through disparity in a newspaper, I would not have been nearly as impacted. We are visual learners who feel. Internet has a much farther reach also and can be streamed all over the world, impacting a larger range of people compared to the New York Times, which is print media, because it does not have nearly as far of a reach. In order to further break down other media and formats, I chose to do a further analysis of internet versus print media because our movie is accessible through the internet. So for example, I chose to incorporate the movie Why We Fight because of how the graphics of 9/11 really emotionally impacted me, and for most of the class also, the general public. And so I believe that the internet is more important to spreading knowledge compared to print media, for example, because of the graphics from the 9/11 movie that we saw, Why We Fight. Also, film is a very impactful way to teach and influence people. The internet has a farther reach, and also people are able to learn visually, which is much more beneficial. For example, videos on YouTube about mathematics, which I use all the time. Also, people would much prefer to watch a video than read a textbook. and this is because people learn through emotions. If I just read a newspaper, I would not have been impacted as much. We are visual learners and allow us to feel. Internet also has a much farther reach than newspapers such as the New York Times. Other media formats could be either print media, television, and video games. Our media compares to other media formats because there's an intervening substance through which something is transmitted, which is the camera lens. Also, the way film is constructed, for example, whether it is interactive like a video game versus film which is just watched, the format changes when the media is reproduced through technology. I chose to pick the quote from Smith's "What difference does a medium make?" to represent this difference. The format changes when it is viewed as a meme, showing that it is in fact changed by technology.
In The Way of Seeing by John Berger, he describes the way of viewing the outside world and viewing into a deeper meaning. Berger states the camera isolated momentary appearances, and in doing so destroys the idea of images were timeless. The invention of the camera changed the way men saw. There was a special scene in the movie in which Gardner and his son are playing basketball. His son talks about going pro, but Gardner stops him and tells him to focus on real goals. His son then quits playing basketball and goes to put the ball in his bag. Seeing the sadness in his son's face, Gardner then gives his son a motivational speech about following his dreams. This scene really spoke to a lot of people, not just with the words, but with the images. The basketball court they were playing on is high enough so that you could see the city. This foreshadows Gardner's rise to success. There's also American flags in the background, which shows the freedom that Gardner is trying to attain for his son and himself. The camera angle in this scene is done specifically so that you could see each of the characters' facial expression. So whenever Gardner is talking, the camera is on him, so you can see his facial expression, you can feel his emotions. And when the son responds, the camera pans to his son, so you can see his son's expressions and his emotion. And then when they're together, you get to feel everything.
During this film, the one constant that is shown on almost every scene is the camera angle and how it wants to get just the father and the son. It doesn't want to look at the big picture, it just wants to focus on them. And I think that's kind of a symbol for how the entire film is supposed to be looked at. It kind of makes it more dramatic too, because it's just how the father only cares about his son and nothing else in the world, providing a better life for him. This movie also connects with audiences because it gives a lot of the what would I do scenarios. It puts people in positions to say, hey, if I was poor and I had to live on the street, how would I handle the situation? How would I handle not having any money? I feel like that really gets people's attention and allows them to really interact more with the film. As far as who made it, Gabriel Musino and Columbia Pictures. The more important part about this section down here is that it was distributed online, on TV, on DVDs. This allows more people to view it, especially on Hulu and Amazon, where most of the market is today. With Susan J. Douglas's piece, The Turn Within, she talks about a global village and how all these new technologies allow people to connect throughout the world. This is apparent because this film, which came out in 2006, is now available on Hulu, Amazon, and I believe it was on Netflix for a short time. The last part also is very relevant. It talks about how people can connect in intimate ways. I believe this entire film was designed to have people connect in intimate ways. It's supposed to pull at your emotional heartstrings and allow you to really get involved with the film. So that's why I think that Susan J. Douglas's piece is really relevant to this film. The line, money can't buy you happiness, is one that we often hear when we complain about life. This film contradicts that exactly. The main character, Chris Gardner, had money, then none of his issues would have happened. Not having a house and not being able to provide for his son are reasons why money is king. Another message that often comes up is that once you are poor, it's extremely difficult to get out. This is very evident in the film. There was little to no help for Chris and his son in this film, from wealthy people especially. And unfortunately, I think that's how our society is actually run today. It is definitely not a recipe for success. This film shows how media can be influential. The most famous quote by Chris Gardner about getting what you deserve in life has not only inspired thousands, but also can be found in memes and pictures, as shown on the right. Because of its relatability to this quote, a lot of people have embraced it and used it to get through tough situations. Our media object has shapes how viewers and consumers of this piece see and interact with the world. If you look at the first two, that this individual scene has allowed people to get over major struggles in their life. Elaine Yu writes, "I love this. It helps me get over the negativity and put downs from my mom who said I couldn't achieve my goals." That is exactly what Chris Gardner does in his infamous scene, "Don't ever let anyone tell you you can't do something, not even me." The rest of the comments kind of follow the same script. Very close to my life right now. My boss told me today he doesn't think I have what it takes to do what I want to do. I almost believed him, then I remembered this. This just shows that people can go back to the scene and relate to how they can overcome any challenges, and I think that it just shows how impressive the director was. I chose this quote by Walter Benjamin to support the media ideologies of this film. It discusses how aura is tied to presence, how aura is only relevant when it is said. Many people don't try to replicate this exact quote because they know that it would not be as special as when Chris Gardner does it in the film. I also think that by the camera angle and the dramatic sense of the scene, it allowed people to become more attached to it and have more of an emotional bond to it. The last part of this quote talks about how the aura would vanish if they tried to replicate it, and I think that holds true for the scene itself.
Happiness is the perfect spelling, but is life perfect? Is happiness perfect? Throughout the movie, even as the situation got worse, the father and the son were still happy. Yes, they were poor, hungry, homeless, but they were still happy. I think it's a symbolic indication for how one should not wait for things to be perfect to be happy. Whether there's an I or a Y, it still means the same. So should our attitude about life. More money or little money, we should still pursue the good old happiness.